Hello, welcome to Breakaway with Dawn and Friends. Today I have my dear friend Claudia. She is a licensed family, oh my goodness, she is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Hi, Claudia.
Hi, Don. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you. I'm sorry I botched your intro.
It's okay.
That was a mouthful.
What you meant.
So thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. And today I wanted to discuss human behavior, but from the aspect of how your childhood shapes your behavior today.
Absolutely. What a great topic, Don, to have and to speak about, just because as you know, we as human beings, we go around acting and behaving in a certain way in our day-to-day lives, right? We all
Yes.
have busy routines. We all wear different hats, right? We all wear and
Yes.
carry different roles and aspects in ourselves that sometimes we wonder, why am I behaving this way? Why am I acting this way? Why is my mood elevated and I can't make sense of it, right? So I
Yes.
think this is such an important topic to bring awareness to so people can understand themselves more. Hmm.
Yes. And I really hope that I can't tell, but it has gotten noisy in my background. So please know I'm in my home office. The family is downstairs, and I really, really hope it's not coming through. Okay. So if it does, sorry. Busy mom life.
Yes.
Yes, I am a life coach,
Okay.
and there is a difference between a therapist and a life coach, right? So a
Right.
life coach is very much in the present
Hmm.
and goal setting and achievements, right? So a therapist works on, your past.
Hmm.
I feel the why and what you can do, more or less, like if you sum it down, right?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely. So basically, yes, you said it right. And to add a little more, so a therapist primarily focuses on diving into your past experiences. Depending on your theoretical approach, each therapist has a different approach that they like to use. I, in particular, like to focus on what we call it's called psychodynamic, and that really
mm,
dives into your past. It really explores the aspect of your childhood, your upbringing, right? Because I am a
wow,
true believer that what shapes us today are not behaviors, but the environment that we are in, right? Growing up and the parental figures in your life that heavily influence and shape our personas, if you will. And this is what I primarily like to focus. Now, some people will beg to differ in that it doesn't focus on the here and now necessarily, but I somehow tie it back into that. So you mentioned, right, your life coaching, you
yeah.
the present. Hmm.
Yeah. And the only reason why I brought that up is because I think that's why I'm a life coach, because I like to reflect. And I
Hmm.
and I challenge myself, okay, why am I feeling like this? Why am I acting like this? Why am I thinking like this? So I literally challenge myself. And as a life coach, I do believe we have the answers within. We just got to dig them out, right? So
Absolutely.
and that's why I'm passionate about life coaching and not so much, kudos
Hmm.
to you, therapy.
Right,
Because
right.
I want to focus on the present, but I've been trying to post more about self awareness and reflection,
Mm.
because I feel people don't do that enough, or they don't think that they can, or I don't know, should. But
Right,
I think it's a powerful tool. And I've told you before, because we've talked, offline.
right.
I psychoanalyze myself all the time. And sometimes I'm so surprised what I come up with. And so I love that. And I think that's why I'm a life coach. So
Oh,
um, we can dive into this, but think
okay.
about this. You don't have to answer this right now, but I'm like, what question do I have for you? Because
Hmm.
for me, I think I know why, but I would like to know more. I get really grouchy and irritated when there's expectations put on me.
Okay.
And
Sure.
any professional, personal,
Hmm.
marriage, motherhood, friendships, like it really like makes me grouchy. And I have to like, okay, take a step back, be present, and be like, okay.
Right.
But it makes me grouchy, Claudia. Like I get, and it could be the stupidest little thing. Like, someone asking me, to bring something because I'm going somewhere. Like, depending on my mood, it can really like, really? Did you like? And it's just the expectation of, well, since you're coming here, you
Mhm.
know, you need to do this for me. Like, it makes me grouchy. And I know that growing up, my dad was, his expectations were high. Like, he expected so much, and he
Mm,
really grilled us. And it was, I just remember him wanting so much and having that expectation on me. So the only thing I can tell you I can connect it to is it just reminds me of being that kid in that environment. And even though
yes.
it has nothing to do with the present, like it seriously makes me grouchy.
Right, exactly. And that's a perfect example, Dawn, of something that what we call in therapy is a trigger, right? A
Mhm.
trigger is something that is provoking unresolved feelings. Something's coming up for you in that moment that takes you back and it makes you feel as a child, like you're being
Mm,
told what to do. You are
mm,
given a
mhm.
directive to follow through. And being in the fast forward in the present, you are not a child. You are a grown adult, a woman who holds many roles and has her own expectations for yourself. So the last thing you want, right, is for someone
Yes.
to reiterate or reinforce that you have to implement a certain additional expectation for you.
And it's funny, Claudia, because it's like, look, this is gonna be real funny. I'm gonna really dumb this down for myself.
Okay.
Like the kids, like I don't know I have to feed you every day, right?
Hmm.
So they'll
Right.
come and say, well, and it is the way they ask. To be honest with you, it's the delivery. It's the way they ask. Like, so what's for dinner?
Right.
Ooh, it's just like, excuse you, back up. I know I have to feed you. Like, it's just, and it's funny. And some days it bothers me, some days it doesn't. Like, or at work, like, I know we all have a boss, and but it's not typically comes from my boss, I think, because it's the mindset, like I know, but just if someone is expecting something, and I'm like, who are you to be, in my mind, of course, who are you
Right.
to be expecting that from me? But
Of
it's
course.
so, I find it, I laugh at myself sometimes because I'm like, girl, take it back. They're not your dad. But what I am curious, since I can make that correlation
Yes.
just for the viewers to help, like, what can I do
Mhm.
to control that, if that's the word, or like,
Mhm.
lessen that trigger?
Right, right. So finding ways to manage that, your
Yes.
reaction to that request, right? So it's like exactly what you said is figuring out, okay, why is it in this moment that this individual asking me or stating the obvious is provoking feelings in me, right? So
Yes.
typically I think what you do first is what you just said, take a step back and say, okay, wait. You respond to the person, and if it comes out in such a way where maybe okay, wasn't the most pleasing response, then you can always take a step back and say, you know what, I heard what you said. I understand what you're asking. It did. I know you know that I have to, for example, feed you. It just
Mhm.
bothers me at this very moment because I am in the middle of something, or I know that I have to feed you. Give me a moment, or allow me to take a step back because I have a lot going on at this time. So it's allowing yourself a space to say out loud what you need, so that the person on the receiving end can hear that, right? We're not looking
Yeah.
for perfection. We're not looking for the perfect response. We are looking for um, being insightful in that moment and understanding, okay, I get it. That wasn't the best response. You can always retract. You don't have to necessarily apologize, but you can say, you know what? That wasn't the best response. Give me a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
love that. Yeah. For I think for me, like, not to be funny, I think because I am very self-aware, and I do question myself, honestly. I do, like, inside, like, take it in and then respond the way, but
Mhm.
I hate that it bothers me. I hate that I let that trigger me.
Mm. And see, that's a form of self-judgment and self-criticism,
Mm.
right? You
Mm.
have been held to a standard, right? You mentioned your father had very high
Mhm.
expectations, right?
Mhm.
So therefore, when you make a mistake or you feel that you did make a mistake, then the self-criticism comes out of you, right?
Oh my, yes, it does.
So what we do typically, right, in our environment, if we grow up in an environment where high expectations are required of us, then we grow up to be individuals who also set high expectations for ourselves, and we expect others to set high expectations or have high expectations of themselves, right? So
Oh
now
my gosh.
revolving cycle where not only you set high expectations, but now you're setting high expectations for others. Hence is why are you asking or stating the obvious?
I'm laughing because that's so true.
Yeah.
Because I do set high expectations for myself. Like I compete with myself.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
competitive, but I
Yes.
promise you, not with others. It's with myself.
Okay.
And I never,
Mhm.
that, just because I felt that was a positive thing, I never psychoanalyzed that to think, why am I like that or why do I do that?
Right.
So I
Yes.
just realized something
Yes. Yes.
very interesting.
And Don, this is the beauty about understanding the human behavior, right? Understanding yourself first, right?
Yeah.
Within is taking a look at ourselves from within so that we understand, why do I get so upset when somebody just simply asks me a question? Why do I,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of weight to that, right? Depending on the mood that we're in, depending of the external factors, which could be all sorts of things, stressors, day-to-day
Mhm.
life, et cetera, et cetera. But in order for us to understand others, we have to start with ourselves. We have to look
Yes.
within, right?
Yes. Yes. It's funny, right before we started recording, I did post, do you love yourself? Oh, no,
Mm.
no, sorry. Do you love out loud? Because there's
Oh,
this
nice.
song that I just love it. This
Mhm.
one artist on TikTok, and
Yes.
I love that song. And so I
Right.
literally just posted, do you love out loud? And it's like, so then I said, do you know you need to love yourself in order to love someone else?
Yes.
And I just feel that has to do with what you're like, you have to look within, right? Before
Absolutely.
you can have any kind of meaningful relationship, So I think that's so funny you just said that. But I'm a
Absolutely.
firm believer of that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, and Don, that's the beauty of it, right? Is a lot of times we seek, for example, we seek um what is it? Comfort, we seek reinforcement, positive reinforcement from others. And we forget that you can't be fulfilled by others, that
No.
we have to fulfill ourselves. So
Yes.
again, the looking within. If we look to others to hold us and support us emotionally, that is only gonna maybe lead to some disappointment. Because what happens if you don't get that support, emotional support that you're seeking from
Hmm.
others? You
Hmm.
have to find ways for yourself to manifest that for yourself so that you can flourish to be an individual who expresses and reinforces self-love, right?
So I totally understand and believe that, but I feel I went too far on the dial with that, where I give off, I don't need you.
Mm,
I
okay.
don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, and I don't mean to, right? But
Right.
I had to grow up fast. So I had to find all of that within myself, right? So
Mhm.
I don't mean to come off like that, but I'm very much like, I'll figure it out. Like I'll do it on my own. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? So I
Right.
feel you're right, but then I need to find that balance because
Mhm.
I do have that like instant, I'll figure it out. I'll do it. I'll handle it. Like I don't need anything. I don't need anybody. And that's
Exactly.
not always good, right?
Right, right. And you're right. That's, you said it yourself. You said it well. You had to grow up quickly. You had to, fend for
Figure it out
yourself.
myself.
You had
Yeah.
to figure it out. You had to problem solve, come up with your own solutions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And thankfully, that created a lot of resilience for yourself,
Hmm.
right? You learn
Hmm.
to be a very resilient individual. And like you said, you do need a balance though, because if you do come across individuals who want to support you, who want to offer a lending hand in some way, or if they see that you're struggling and then you have a hard time expressing that, you have a hard time saying,
Hmm.
I do need help, you probably won't ask for help because you know that you
No.
will likely do it on your own, right? You'll
Yes,
figure
and do you know why? Because of course I reflected on that. It's
it out.
because most people,
Mhm,
who do
mhm.
you rely on as a kid? Your mom and dad,
It's
right? Like, so you have that trust, right? And
right.
that, what's the word? Like, not expectation, but the understanding that they're the person that will take care of you. You can trust the most. And so I think in my brain, in my mind, if
Mhm.
I couldn't trust the people that brought me here,
Exactly.
right? Like if I don't feel that I could have put my trust in them, or they've broken that trust, and I couldn't expect that from them, how can I expect that from someone else?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that is that's clearly what most people feel when they do experience these very adverse situations in their upbringing, right? Is
Hmm.
if the two pillars of your life, the two most important pillars, which are our
Hmm.
parents, our
Hmm.
parental figures,
Guidance, yeah.
don't promote a secure attachment, right? If they don't
Mhm.
promote this space, right, where we can be and feel safe in all aspects, then what are the chances that you're going to trust the outside world? That
Hmm.
is going to make it that much more difficult. So if your experience was just that, and you figured, I'm a problem solver for myself because I have to survive. And normally, humans, we sometimes don't give ourselves credit, but if we're put in very extreme situations from a very young age, somehow we manage to survive. We manage to thrive. What thrive looks like could be different for every person. Right?
Yes. Yep.
So anyway, so back to that is understanding where that's coming from. If you get a better sense of, or you want to know why do I react, why do I behave in a certain way, take a look, a glimpse to your upbringing and what those parental figures and roles in your environment, all of that plays a big role in all of
I
it.
agree. So to flip this on the other side, because I've
Hmm.
been asked this recently by more than one person, how do you not I want to say engage, but deal with someone that's difficult or something. I forgot how it was asked, but I said, you don't. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, there is no engaging with someone that is being difficult and they're not in the right frame of mind, right?
Hmm.
And so I think people have a hard time of meeting people where they are, right? So like one thing I don't have, I only have expectations on me. I don't necessarily have them on others, right? So I don't expect people to see things the way I see, feel the way I feel, think. I don't ever do that, right? So I've learned good and bad because of what I went through. I've learned not to have that expectation, right? So I tried to say, subconsciously, okay, where are you? Let me meet you there so that, we can move forward from here. Do you know what I mean? And so it was funny when she's like, well, how do I deal with that? I'm like, you just don't. Like, don't engage. Don't, like, there is no dealing with that, and
Right.
it's not your problem. But if you feel that you have to, then you meet that person where they are, not
Yes.
where you are in your journey, because you have grown, but this person has not. So you gotta take yourself back to where they are.
That's beautiful, Don. You know that this is why you're a life coach. So these are the same similar concepts that we use in therapy,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Is the same thing is we always meet the client where they're at. You meet your patient where they're at because this is the headspace that they're in. The
Yes.
expectation is not for you to try to challenge the person
No.
anymore because there's no necessarily the rational thinking. There's a disconnect for that person. If that person's
Mhm.
mind and thoughts are in disarray, you're not going to be able to have a fruitful conversation, let alone a healthy connection with this person at this time. But
Right.
you have to come more from a maybe a curious standpoint, not so much a judgmental standpoint. Be curious about, okay, I'm curious why they are behaving this way
Mhm.
rather than, how dare you behave this way? Well, right, right, right. And
Yes.
you would alleviate so much stress on yourself from trying to walk that journey with them. You are not in that person's shoes.
I
You,
know. Yeah. I know. That's so right. And I tried to tell them, I said, you had this expectation that this person can't fulfill.
Exactly.
And that's on you, not on that person, right?
Right.
So I
Right.
said, I think you need to reevaluate your expectations. And
Mhm.
this is not me defending that person or the situation.
Right.
It's just trying to get you down a level
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
that the two of you can create that path.
Right.
Oh my God, I love
Oh,
this.
this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Ah,
So you see,
isn't it?
there's differences like you mentioned in life coaching and therapy. The difference, real difference, is if you want to dive deeper and peel off maybe additional layers, if you will. But the work that you do ultimately is reaching the same goal that you would in therapy. Is
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Yeah, I just I'm not a licensed professional. I try to tell people that. So like I can only tell you my opinion,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
but I don't like to, like I said, I don't like to project what I think or what I feel it might be because I truly only know my life experience and how I've overcome that, or you know what I mean, from myself. But we all are wired different, and that's why I'm
Right.
so fascinated with human behavior because there's 5 kids in my family, as you know, and same mom and dad, same household, all that, whatever. And we're all about 2 years apart ish,
Mhm.
pretty much. So we're around the same age, and it was girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, and I can tell you, you'll get 5 different stories,
Yeah.
and I feel we were in the same environment. What is that? Nurture versus
Nature.
nature, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So it was just so interesting on
Mhm.
how we absorbed differently,
Yes.
right? And then how we dealt with those things differently, our
Yes.
perspective on how it was.
Mhm.
Like it just always intrigued me.
Right.
And so it's just funny when I heard one time, I think one of the housewives, my guilty secret, or pleasure, guilty pleasure. The lady said to her, everyone has a role to play.
Mhm.
And that was that person's role. And that was just so interesting, an interesting statement to me because, at the end of the day, we are wired differently, right?
Yes.
So then if they're meant to play that role, I'm trying to tie that together, but if they're meant to play that role, then, they're not going to see and feel the way you do because your role is to be let's say the protector, the overbearing
Yes.
older sibling, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I do feel there's such a thing as older child sibling, or what is that syndrome?
Yes.
I do
The
feel
middle
there's middle child
child.
syndrome, which I'm the middle child and I have that.
Right.
Then the baby syndrome, I don't know about second and fourth, but I know the first, the middle, and the last.
Absolutely.
But,
Yes.
and it's funny because that plays a part on it too, because like for me, if
Mhm.
we got into a fight, it didn't matter who. I was always in the middle. There was always two above me older and two younger, So if
Mhm.
I fought with either side, I was always outnumbered. So it's so funny that, I didn't think the way they think or act the way they act. And so this is why it always fascinated me.
Absolutely. And I'm with you too. I feel like when I started my journey in my training as a clinician, I did want to learn that. That's what intrigued me most. I would ask
Mhm.
my mentors, like, can you help me understand how you have a family with 3 children and all 3 children think differently? They're all wired differently.
Mhm.
They're all responding to this trauma differently.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
trying to understand is, I think, is so fascinating because
Mhm.
we're all impacted in different ways.
Yes.
And when you work with families and you work with children and parents, and their parents are, at times we do compare children, and wonder why one child acts one way and why the other doesn't, but again, it's because each person is its own entity, right? Each
Yes.
person is wired differently. So yeah.
I know, and it's so funny you say that because, and I'm going to say this, and you're going to laugh, and it's definitely my truth, okay? But like, I can tell you, what I remember
Hmm.
is what actually happened, okay? And you're going to laugh, and I know that sounds funny, but when I say to my kids, and the older one will say, "Oh, it's this way," and I'm like, "No, it's not." Like, and I know for sure it's not that way, and it's like, oh my god. Then I think, oh my god. So then, what am I projecting that really wasn't true about my childhood?
Exactly.
I find that so funny because, I think because my dad put so much on us and that expectation, and I get it, I get it now, but I didn't then. So unfortunately, I didn't put that on my kids because I didn't like it.
Hmm.
Right. So I don't have those strong expectations. And I mean, I do in some ways, but not in his way, right?
Right.
So now I'm kind of regretting it, because it's like, who do you think you are, you entitled little thing, right? So it's funny because, she'll say, oh, you always do this with him, or you always, and I truly do not. But it's so funny, that's her truth. So
Right.
then I was thinking, oh crap, what did I analyze about my childhood that really it was not that way? You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
that's
Right.
fascinating to me.
It is. It is fascinating. So I think, again, I think bringing awareness, Don, and just kind of remove the stigma around these type of services that
Mhm.
resources that are out there for people to understand that mental health is such an important
Oh my
factor,
gosh, yes, yes,
right?
yes,
I am very grateful to the mental health awareness that social media brings nowadays, like podcasts like
yes,
yours, which is amazing. Like there's a lot of life coaching trainings and so on and so forth. But I think it's so important, especially, how they talk about in the actors are now coming out and speaking more to mental health because we have
yes,
to remove the stigma, right?
yes.
Hmm.
I do agree, and this is why I want to use this platform, because, I feel that, we all have a voice and a purpose in life. And this is why I want to serve my purpose through life coaching,
Hmm.
because I didn't have the guidance and the tools growing up, right? So I want to provide that to someone in need,
Right.
right? So, and Breakaway with Dawn and Friends has the title of my podcast has so many reasons or meanings, right? And so, ultimately, I want to break them away from what no longer serves them, like what has the chains on their ankles and their hands. You know what I mean? What is holding you back? Like I want them to break away from
Right.
those things that no longer serve them and find their real joy and real purpose in life, right? So um, I don't I'm be honest with you, I've done therapy a couple times.
Okay.
But I think because I've always challenged myself, and like I said earlier, and try to psychoanalyze myself,
Sure.
I really do feel like if you take the time, right?
Yeah.
And I would tell people, just take a few minutes. It really doesn't take much from you, whether it's in the morning, midday, or you got to find 2 minutes in your day to
Right.
sit in a safe, quiet space and meditate, or just sit in silence and reflect.
Right.
So, of course, naturally, my breakaway tip on this episode is,
Yeah.
to reflect more, right? To be more self aware
Yeah.
and to challenge yourself. Like, look within,
Hmm.
question yourself, start with the thing that most bothers you, or the thing that you're able to, right? Because
Right.
maybe the thing that most bothers you, you're not ready, right? But just the little things, like for me, and I think therapy is a wonderful thing, and people should do it, or
Absolutely.
try life coaching, which
Yeah.
is very much in the present and making, small goals, and celebrating your achievements. That's to me what life coaching is, right? I'm your
Absolutely.
cheerleader, right? But
Yes.
your therapist is going to dive into the why and the how and
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
much more, right? So, yeah.
absolutely. And not to fear that process, right? Because if you want, if people want to do therapy and then, okay, I feel like I'm in a better place. I feel that I've heard some of my clients say, now I'm transitioning to something different, which could be life coaching, just
Right,
as a reboot, right?
right,
I need a refresher. I need to
right.
continue to be on this path of self discovery, right? Which
Yeah.
is always so beneficial, and we need
Yes.
it, quite frankly. We need it
Yes.
to what is it, you all the components about being in a better place with ourselves. It starts again from within, which is how we
It
started this
does. It
conversation.
does. And
Yeah.
then, I also want to say, I don't think people pay too much attention about their surroundings. And this is what you're watching on TV, what you're listening to, what you're seeing. Like, I do challenge people on my posts, to really be mindful,
Right.
what you're watching. Like, seriously, like if you're watching a lot of negative stuff, right? Or you're listening to that negative music, that's the mindset. Like it stays there. That's what, so if you're like, okay, I want to do something and I don't know where to start, I
Hmm.
would say start with, reflecting on your environment, right? A cluttered room, like for me, my office, I love my office. It's all mine. So like I
Hmm.
make sure it's decluttered, a safe,
Right.
happy space so that when I come here, I can be happy to be here and do the work that has to be done, right? If it's your room, like you need to create that space, right?
Right.
So just be mindful of not only your environment, right? But
Right.
again, what you're listening to. Because too, if you hang out with people, what all they do is complain and they're negative, like believe it or not, that's what you're gonna, focus on. And so I did that. What you focus on expands. So if you're going to focus on your obstacles and not having money and all of these things that we do, then guess what's going to magnify for you? It's
Exactly.
that, right? So,
Exactly.
if you don't know where to start, I would start with that self awareness. Be mindful of what you're listening to, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, who you're around, and declutter your space, your
Yes.
personal space. Find that safe space because, you
Yes.
can't declutter a whole house real, not that fast, right? So just start with one space at a time.
I love that, Don. What great advice you're giving.
Oh,
I just reinforces. I really enjoy just being on this platform. I'm so excited for you to see more of Don, breaking away with Don and friends, because I think you have such a great content. So
thank
thank you for
you.
having me today, Don.
Yes, thank you, Claudia, and hopefully we'll have more with
Yes,
Claudia.
absolutely.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.